Welcome, welcome, brothers and sisters. Hope you're well. Happy Monday. If you like what you hear and you're new, consider subscribing. I'm here to help. You jump on here now, answer anything you need to talk about. Going to be 90 some degrees here again. Not fun, but I'm sure many of you in America, depending where you're located, are experiencing the greatness of heat. Yeah. So let's see the market here. Right, can't really look at anything. It just went live spontaneously. Went live the other day and unfortunately got cut off. What I'm hearing right now, a couple things, a few channels, rumors about them trying to, the administration going to try to push out Powell. Well, I think he's trying to do that anyways, but it's a pretty hard move. Hi ZE, what's up, man? 589 exactly. Oh yes, like that clickbait. XRP. I don't think we'll even make $5, but will any of our altcoins, double or triple? It's hard to say. You have your spontaneous ones doing that. So C90, what's up with your situation? Any, what did they just have a little layoff thing going on and you unfortunately got caught in the middle of it? And I'm sorry, that's freaking horrible. I'm seeing that a lot. And that leads me to, what I was going to say about Powell. He's living in all of the government's living in, fairy tale land. I mean, Trump doesn't know what's going on with the average person. How would he? He bought a Tesla. He's never driven a car in his life. And then you got Powell thinking that everything's strong, and it's not the reality of it. It's just not the reality of the market. There are layoffs, hiring freezes. He says, salaries are going up like crazy. They're not. He's looking at data that's skewed and manipulated to any way he wants it to appear. And that's just not the case. It's not the case. The rates are brutal. Then you have tweets wanting it down to 1%. We don't need 1% rates. We do need a full point. We need something to stimulate the market, and we need confidence out of companies. Let's face it. It's the companies in America that drive our economy. And if they're unsure of the next step, they're not going to do anything. If money is extremely expensive, they're hesitant. This is what I'm hearing. This is what we're seeing for years. And the pausing is just absolutely horrendous. Now, Trump's idiotic view of pause now and you can raise rates later. I mean, it's just not like that. Like spinning a dice, you can't just make significant moves that will cause dramatic impact. What the administration is really going to push for is lower rates, because they'll have midterms eventually and they have a lot of people needing to remain. So they're going to do everything they need. They will be pushing hard on Powell. But I think he needs to be talking to the Fed chair, not just, the whole governors and everyone, to come up with a game plan. It's supposed to be separate, but let's be honest. He can put some pressure on or have a civilized meeting to come to some type of understanding. Let's lower 50 now, see what happens. It's almost like the Fed does not want the economy to do well. All they can be in charge of is demand. That's the only thing they have. Ran a small group of 4 engineers, made twice as much as the second highest paid. Oh shit! Our sales guy left 2 years ago, and our owner thought he could fill his shoes. Ugh, he didn't. That's rough. Hey Roy, 39.99. What does that stand for? What 39.99? Is that for XRP? XRP, I could get to that in a minute. So I'm looking at what best for the group. Put myself on the list. It's a last-ditch effort to slow the bleed out. Oh, wow. Old industry. They aren't pivoting fast enough. What's the industry? Ed Wilson, good morning. To remain, you give me a number. To remain, you give me a number. I don't know what that means. To remain, you give me a number. Expand on what you're asking me. Jalen. History repeats itself. It's almost been a century since the Great Depression. So it wouldn't be shocking if they think it would happen again. Just my thoughts on, okay, well, you're right. Things, I don't like the saying, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. That's a stupid crypto thing. When I hear things too much, it drives me nuts, but I tend to repeat myself, so I can't. Or I can, but I shouldn't throw shame. But things do go in cycles, for sure. I don't know if we're depression, bro. The closest thing we came to a depression was the housing collapse. 08, 09, I was involved in that. And, we can talk about we don't have a socialist government or anything, and I'm not going to get into that, but we bailed out all the industries. That's not what capitalism is. That's not true capitalism, right? You let things die on the vine. That's true capitalism. So those of you who fight against socialism, and I'm not for socialism, nor am I for any extreme, but that's crony capitalism, semi-socialism when you're bailing out companies like we did banks, and we bailed out whole industries, car industries and everything, and a lot of them took record bonuses that year. That's it's lovely. So capitalism would have all let it died, and the truth of the matter is then we would have been in a major depression, because I worked for one of the banks that went, I did their 30-year bonds that went under, Lehman Brothers. Bear Stearns, they got killed, and the government came in and took care of it, and the car industry, and that was our money doing it, if you recall. Remember, nothing's for free. When they were giving out free COVID tests, when they were giving out free money during COVID, I said to everyone who's so happy to get these paychecks, even my wife being one of them, which was great, I'm like, we'll take it for her. I mean, she was only a teacher for, she taught some like kickboxing or cardio classes. She's making $100 a week. She was getting like $600-700 a week from unemployment during COVID. And I go, this is not free money. You're going to see inflation, and this kick us in the ass. And it did. And they all think it was under Biden. They both did it. They both printed, $3 trillion each. So I don't know what this bill is going to do. I can't, I'm not going to listen to 15 hours of Democrats reading it. But I don't know if it's truly going to add $3 trillion, like they're saying, $3-4 trillion to our debt. What isn't? But we do need to do something to spark us. Got people like C90 here getting laid off, which is ridiculous. These companies are struggling. Lighting projectors, thin metal patterns that get pushed. Oh, okay, outdated, large lights. Okay, think Batman in the sky. Oh, I got you. Yeah, that is fairly outdated. Yeah. I used to work on some sets, the company I worked for years ago, where we, helped out a lot of that stuff on sets when Batman was shot here, and a few other things with Christian Bale. Our engineering group did the cool projects like Disney and Universal Parks, but those were a few. I haven't looked at employment yet. I might look into that next week, but prefer to hit the applications. Yeah. So you're electrical engineer? So, the rumors in regards to Powell, I just don't see that happening. Pushing him out, but I think they need to put pressure on. I don't think he'll succumb to that. But, if you meet with him and the rest of the governors and discuss a plan and explain, not in, in person, what they can do. We've waited long enough. He waited long enough to raise rates, and now he's waited excessively long to lower them. It's, you lower them twice last year and then pause. It has been 6-7 months now of nothing. The market needs and has to have rate cuts. The world has to have it. Americans have to have it, right? For your loans, for cheaper money. Yet, we don't need the 0% anymore. We need a full 1.5 cut. In regards to the market, mechanical, but working in both. Okay, I was going to say mechanical, but it sounded more electrical. Finally, XRP is 1,000 a coin. Yeah. So XRP, I could start on that. As you see, with good news in regards to the XRP dropping the appeals, and next the SEC should be dropping the appeals. There's no movement, right? And if that's not going up, it just shows you there's just no retail here. Okay? I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but as I listened to early this morning, Sheldon and a couple other people, I just, I saw the thumbnail that George is going to do this morning, Bitcoin to 1.5 million. I'm not saying that can't happen eventually, but what good does that do you, to put on those stupid videos of something that won't happen for quite some time? We care about alts. Bitcoin is the ultimate store of value, and not only store of value, it's the best investment there is over, complete ROI. But how many of you have a bunch, right? You're not going to be buying it at 108,000. When I see volume at 77 billion, 100 billion, it's not going to do it. That's bear market. And it's just, if you look, it's just alts go up a little bit, and then, they go up 3%, 4%, 1%, some of them 30%. Then they go down more than they were up, right? They go up 3, they go down 5. So you're constantly losing value in your alts. Not just you, me. And you'll hear people say it's early, and we're not early. Maybe in the industry, but you've been in crypto for a while. If you're new, that's okay. You're learning a hard lesson. But the majority of us, many of us, have been in here quite some time. And we're not early. Your portfolio tells you you're not early, right? I'm sure some of you have stuff you bought at 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20. I have stuff that I have longer than that. And XRP just is, there's just too many things against it in regards to price accumulation. And back in the day, it was always kind of the last to spike. Right now, good news, bad news. It's holding strong, 190 to 220. Did you hear that horse? So I think if we get any type of bull market, and now my expectations for XRP are very, very little. If we were headed the way we were going, I could have definitely seen a $10 XRP in our future. Right now, I couldn't even tell you where it's going to go or anything. That's why I've slowed my DCAing immensely. I've DCA'd maybe a few times over the last couple months. Did a little bit last week. Paid off a little bit on say. But, things that get momentum get brought down quick, because what is going on in the market? People are getting out, and they're just doing what I'm doing a little bit. When you have some profits, depending on where they're at, what you're looking to do, I'm taking money out, putting it on the sidelines. You're still hearing, the fall this, October, November, like anyone in crypto, or even the financial advisors. I listened to, what was I listening to? The Wolf of Wall Street, or whatever that's called. Channel. He has 4 guys, so-called experts on it. It's hilarious. They meet a couple days a week and do a stream. I can only handle about 15 minutes of it. They all have different opinions. And what does that tell you? They all have, 4 people, 4 completely different opinions on the market, on this. They're so sure of themselves. This is what's going to happen. One of the guys talking about Powell being forced out. And, the rumors are the Treasury Secretary will take that position, which Besant would not be a bad idea. But nobody knows. So just remember, when you're listening to everyone, including myself, the only difference is I'm the one who, I will tell you, it is unsure. The markets are always unsure, but right now, what I am sure of is we're not in a bull market, and we are just going to be treading here. Trump has, has the tariffs to think about in the next couple weeks. We have a deadline. Does he extend those? Well, I think there'll be an extension for people who are working with him in good faith and at the table. For the people who are not, they're going to get a letter saying, "Thank you for doing business with America. This is your tariff." That's going to be tough. What does that mean for your markets? You're going to see a serious sell-off. Even though it's already in the market like 30 times at this point in the last 7 months, you'll see a sell-off like we haven't had one. So, if you've gone down, if you have something at $2 and it's now at 30 cents because of the tariff sell-off, right? $2, tariffs, 140. No tariffs, 145. Tariffs on again, $1. Delay, $1.05. Tariffs on, 30 cents, right? So the next one will be the same. That's how it works. People act like they've never heard that the tariffs were coming, and there'll be a massive sell-off in regards to that. So that is the market. That's why it's crazy. It's irrational, completely irrational. But we have to have volume looking up. So my portfolio's looking okay. Down quite a bit on the bad side. On the other side, it's staying stagnant, and some of them are up. Say help me out a little bit. I'm so diversified. I'm looking. My goal was, like I'm sure many of yours, if you're diversified like I am, I'm overly diversified, way too. And because it was a good opportunity at the time in regards to where we're heading. And that was all based on market sentiment, world and macro sentiment, and what was going on, the election, all that good stuff. And it was paying off. But right now, we are in no state where that is going to do anything for us in regards to coming back. The majority of them will probably be around morning. Ugh, three unfriendly women. It's amazing. They had a look on them, talking about all the wine they drank last night. They wonder why they're 75 pounds overweight and bitches. Yeah, there's some nasty ass women and men here in Illinois. I always try to be nice, but maybe 3 out of 10 people I say hi to or something even acknowledge me. Them didn't even get a smile. I get unfriendly looks on the trails too, but I'm 6'2", with 250 pounds. There you go. I'm 5'6", 140. I'm your Yoda, Luke Skywalker. Yeah, I used to have a boss who was like 6'4", gigantic guy, unreal. We would go, work together, and it was pretty funny. We were a good team. But it was like twins. Yet I don't necessarily look like Danny DeVito, but he was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he didn't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he was tall, gigantic, and his voice was low like this. But what's wrong with being friendly to each other? I don't get that. Don't let other people change you. I might get annoyed. But what I'm really trying these days is get back into meditation and breathing. Not easy. I used to do it for 3 hours a day back when I was younger. Right before I had my first kid, I'm talking like in my 20s. And everyone needs to just stop and breathe, right? Right now I'm walking and, not really relaxing. I'm kind of yapping to try to help a little bit. Need to just relax, breathe, take it easy. Yeah, I don't let other people change me. I might get annoyed in the moment, but it doesn't change my outlook on what I do. But it does annoy me. But my portfolio right now is, it's hard to want to take a bunch of money and put it into alts that I know are not doing anything. Right now, my whole plan is to put into certain alts just to get out of them. Bring down my average, which can take quite a bit. You would be surprised to lower your average. It takes a lot of money. You know, you bought something at $1 and it's at like 30, 20 cents now. You'd be surprised how much money it takes, depending on how much you have, right? If you have one token, it's a different story. But when you got, 20,000, 50,000 of something at $1, $1.50, 80 cents, even like 3 cents, and it's at 0.0062 of a penny right now. It takes a lot of money to bring down that average significantly, a lot of money. And so my goal is to get out of these because I don't see a lot of them going to where I bought it. Isn't that sad? The only way that's going to happen, guys, for a lot of your portfolio that's underwater is a serious bull market. And we are not even, who knows if that's going to happen. The odds are no. The odds are no. The odds are that Bitcoin's going to have, keep continuing its bull market if the macro goes. But the majority of alts won't. There's so many altcoins now constantly coming, right? Pith. Remember Pith was supposed to be the chain link killer? Look at it. Look at the price of it. First of all, you have to look at the tokenomics, the interest and all that. Look at the AI narrative. There's no narrative now. So if anyone talks to you, does streams about what coins to pick for the bull run, this and that, I see that on all these shows. Still doing, Cardano stuff or these 10 projects or get out of these and go into these by banter and all the people. Interviewing people like they know what they're talking. Like Michael Saylor knows what he's talking. He doesn't know anything. He's a brilliant guy. He's lost more than I know in his brain. But point is, he doesn't know where he cares about Bitcoin. And ultimately, he's right about that, but he doesn't fully know. You never know what the government can do. So these are all educated guesses. Be educated in that. Don't be buying stupid shit. I mean, I almost, for farts and giggles, almost bought Farcoin the other day. I was going to buy a ton of it. And if I did, I would be up when I looked, 35%. If I didn't, how can I put my money into something called Farcoin? But really, what's the difference between Farcoin and XRP? What's the difference between Farcoin, especially in Cardano? Cardano is one of the biggest jokes. That I'm kicking myself in the ass, and C90 should be kicking me in the ass too, because I said I was going to sell it at $1. That's where my break even was. Well, where the market was at the time, Trump was putting out tweets and saying, oh, of course we're including Cardano and XRP in this reserve, and the market goes crazy. And then a day later, and I was up pretty good money on Cardano. A day later, some other shit, macro comes down on tariffs and all that, and the market crashes. So even now, here's the sad thing. No matter what Trump says or what David Sachs does or what the rest of the administration does in crypto, because it is so pro-crypto, it's out of control, it's doing nothing to price. It's holding Bitcoin strong, but your alts are not strong. So that's, what do we got here? Alejandro, C90, if you're 6'2", I'm a professional basketball player. You're not tall, bro. You're just standing on your ego. You might have measured your height while wearing stilettos. Hello, identify as all that all. I do enjoy a great pair of red stilettos. Me too. Help me from those calves. Yeah, so C90, you're a big guy. Be careful when you start that running. I don't want you to get plantar fasciitis. So make sure before you hit the running, like you were saying the other day, that you're not fucking around with your stretching, okay? And start off slow. I know you got the Brooks, that's great, but 250 on a 6'2" frame, it's hard enough on my small frame. I want you to take it easy. Start with the run, walk, run, take a day off, then do it again. Now that you have a little bit of time, the last thing you need is an injury, so stretching is the most important. Trust me on that. But I think it's good. You'll see a lot of, give yourself some caffeine, an energy drink if you need that good boost, and hit it. Try to do a trail like I'm on now, where it's a little easier on your joints. Rock and red stilettos. Yeah, you said you were selling at $1. Yeah, my break even is 58 cents, and I'm looking to finally sell off. So yeah, I'm very frustrated with myself on many things. I don't tend to look back in time. That would destroy me mentally in regards to financial and other decisions in my life. But I had no idea. I mean, I would say every day, right? All this can end with macro events, with Trump saying this or whatever may happen. And it did. Not that I'm a genius. It's just that's how markets go. But I truly regret not selling Proppy. I would have bought it back. ADA, I'm good with XRP. If it stays at $2, it's still, hell of a lot higher than where I got it. But many projects I've even jumped in when things were cooking a little bit for a week, a week or two in November, that are down significantly, that I was DCAing a little bit, but I'm hesitant to do anymore. It's just, even though the volume's strong on it, it just has no fight left in it. Nothing has any fight right now. Like I said, we were truly in an okay market, and don't listen to people saying, oh, it's almost here, or people are accumulating, it's being manipulated. No, it's not. Who can manipulate a whole altcoin market? Tell me that. Nobody. How Bitcoin is manipulated is it just hits shorts, it hits longs, and it's macro news comes out, right? It's called panic. Panic sell, FOMO buy. That's what drives the market. But when you see something like, Bitcoin going at 108 like it did yesterday, and I said, okay, normally we get a little sell-off after that. We did. And your alts don't really respond. And I mean, all the alts, there's just nothing here. And money, liquidity is spread throughout all these stupid shit coins now. And I own a ton of them. Yeah, but if I could just get out of my ADA and just have that money on the side, that would have been a good call. But what are you going to do? When you've had something for so long, projects, and you're at long-term capital gains, right? It's, significantly better than short-term capital gains. You didn't do it to make $10,000 or, $15K. You're in it for a little better return than that. Why? Okay. Let's say I sold Cardano at 107, made 100 grand, let's say. Then it drops down to where it's at right now, and I'm going to buy it back, which I may have. I almost bought Cardano at 78 cents the other week. I almost put in $75,000 to buy it. And I said, I'm going to wait, see what happens. Thank God I did. Because the majority of my buys and yours have been wrong just because of what's going on. So we truly need to wait until the market gets going. I don't know when that's going to be. It's certainly not going to be this summer. I don't get any calls. What about you guys? You get any calls in regards to crypto? None. I got it for quite a bit when we first were breaching the 90s and 100K. Then they went back and crawling into their hole. So there's just no interest. You don't hear it. The only reason you hear it on the news is going after Trump and his meme coins and how vested he is. And I agree with that. It was stupid of him to be vested. I don't care personally. He's doing it in front of you. At least, all the other presidents and everything do it behind, at least I don't like the guy, but he's at least in front of you showing his actions. He's apologetic about his actions in regards to that. So, let's see. Alejandro, watching this stream is like trying to binge watch paint dry. You'd have more excitement in the season just glitched out for an hour. Honestly, I'd rather watch a 10-hour video of a blank screen. I can't blame you. I'm just ranting. I don't need to watch, but I welcome you here anyways. I don't have much to share. Just haven't been on lately and just trying to give a few thoughts. There's not really much to add, my friends. It's a little early for me. On that note, if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. C90, I'll there's so many markets looking for engineers. You might want to try some of the bigger companies. I don't know if you're good at mechanical engineering, there's always industrial type of groups like Atlas Copco, Parker Hannifin, Eaton, companies like that are definitely hiring. Parker Hannifin's a good one. They're always looking for good engineers, especially mechanical. What's it for? And what group is it? Like Fluid Connectors Group? I work with all those companies, and yeah, there's a lot of good positions always opening up at Parker Hannifin, and compressed air manufacturers. They're always looking for someone. Engineer supervisor in Albion. Okay. Yeah, I know Albion, where that is. They do a lot of manufacturing. It might be a little below what you want, but they're a great company in regards to bigness and other benefits and all that good stuff. They pay okay. Do a lot of work with them. Know a lot of people there. I think it may be worth applying to and looking into. Basically you'd probably be in the Albion office and having your team working on certain projects. They have so many different divisions: aerospace, automotive, compressed air. They do a million things. Hose division, fluid connectors. Yeah, so there's a ton of companies like that out there. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones, but there's a million companies like Parker that always need good management. Looks like it's a fluid connector manufacturing. Yeah, they're out of Otsego, Michigan. That's around Kalamazoo, a little north of Kalamazoo. You should go for that. You should look into that. That division's struggling a little bit. I know it well. So they're a good leader there, a guy named Jay. Natalie Hicks is the marketing and sales manager. But it's like a $400 or $500 million division. But Albion is an important location. They do a lot of brass there. Yeah, I would look into that for sure. Yeah. They drug test, by the way. They're kind of a conservative company out of Cleveland, Ohio. 30 miles. Wondering if I take this time to transition over to sales engineering. Yeah, you certainly could. I would apply for that job personally. Just apply for it. And sales engineering is good. A lot of money in that. You can certainly work your way into that. I think that's not a bad idea. Especially if you don't want to be a supervisor, though. I think Parker's pretty good. I just don't know pay-wise. Like I said, the benefits are great. I don't know if you'd get a car for an engineering manager. Probably not. But it's worth, like I said, Albion is a very important location. It's worth looking into. No heroin? Yeah, I would definitely check it out. Won't get rich, working for a $14 billion company, but that's all right. That's why you have crypto. That's why you have your Bitcoin at least. But I would definitely at least get some out, get the resume there, do the application. Because they move slow, and they'll probably have quite a few people wanting that position internally, Yes, sirree. Well, that's all I got. Just remember, we're not quite there yet. We're a long ways off. I think DCAing, if you feel like it's going to bring down your average costs, not a bad idea. If you feel like it's a new project you want to get into, I think that's not necessarily a great idea. I think we're going to have nothing but turbulence or just stagnation. And you know, with this terror thing, you have to be careful. We don't fully know what's up with Iran yet, even though we could say there's a ceasefire, and we just don't know what tomorrow is going to bring anyway. So don't do anything stupid in regards to your money, your hard-earned money that you're making. The majority of it's not paying off right now. I'm not saying it's not going to, but remember, we have been just in a downward trend since November, and it was a very small rally until then. Volume has to increase, interest has to increase. Bitcoin has to be significantly, as we keep going up, people are just going to be taking profits, like me. As my altcoins get to a certain level, depending on the market, it's hard to sell for all of us, right? Because you're like, oh, damn it, I'm at my break-even point, or I'm up a couple $1,000s, or whatever it may be, a couple $100s. If I sell it, I know it's going to go up. Well, you know what? You're heavily diversified. It's time to consolidate, in my personal opinion, a little bit, if you're able to. Half of my portfolio will not get back to profits, I don't think. So, because if we ever get into a bull market, there will be narratives coming out and AI left in the past and all that. RWA, look at Ondo. Ondo's below $1. So the narratives don't mean anything. Don't waste your time listening to idiots like me telling you any different. Take a little time off. Get yourself healthy. All right, guys? Be good. Love you, C90. Be good. Alejandro, sorry it was so boring. BWZ. Everyone else who comes on later, if you like what you see or hear, subscribe. Get to see the field. Be good.